We're back here for all the interviews that we've been doing with all different kind of people involved with surf, performance, health, treatment, everything. We try to have a chat and see what's the view of the sport. Now, I'm here with my good friend Jay Botto, and he's a local from Burley Heads. So with me, Jay, we always chat about performance and kids' problems, what set maneuvers can be applied or not, and what's the restriction it is. And yeah, it'll be good to have this chat with Jay for you guys. Jay, please just talk a little bit about you, brother.
Yeah, Rodrigo. Obviously from Burley Heads, just behind us. I kind of grew up.
Yeah, what's your full name, Jay?
Jay Thompson.
Jay Thompson.
Jay Bottle Thompson.
Jay Bottle Thompson. I know it's a history about the bottle.
Yeah.
You can tell later.
We'll tell that one later. But I pretty much just grew up probably about 200 metres from here. My parents owned a little house on the river just up the back here. So I used to paddle up here from when I was a grom and paddle around to the point and surf every day. And and then I was lucky enough in my life to make a career out of surfing and got on the world tour for a few years. And now basically next chapter of my life is just could say that I'm a coach full time, and I train developmental groms into more high performance kids, into like world tour athletes now. So yeah, kind of just been slowly progressing, learning how to coach. I'm still pretty young in the way of coaches. Like it's an evolving sport, and I'm trying to learn a lot. It's a challenge, but I'm learning a lot as we go along.
That's it. That's awesome.
I was
Stay for whole just QSs and after CT.
Yeah, I was on the QS for many years. I think it might have been about 6 or 8 years smashing out the QS, grinding away. And then I qualified, it would have been 2007, and then I was on there till 2010. And yeah, it was a cool experience. It's a dream tour, but it comes with its challenges. It's a lot of time on the road and a lot of sacrifice to kind of get there.
To live the dream. No,
yeah, there is a lot of sacrifice. It is a dream tour, and it's the best life. I wouldn't change it or anything. I'm so stoked to have that a part of my journey in life. Yeah. I'm actually also really stoked to see the backside of competing as well, and not have that pressure day in, day out. It was a cool little journey while it lasted.
So tell me, you talk about sacrifice and challenge. What do you think was the main challenge to be on the tour?
For me, I think the biggest challenge for me was pressure, the big word pressure, and performing under pressure. And coming down to those crucial moments that really matter. I think that was really that, and I think combined with having the confidence to surf at your best, and have a bit of a release of that pressure in the moment was a real challenge for me. I feel like I probably didn't. Throughout my career, I struggled to surf at the peak of my performance in my heats. I had really good free surfs, and then under pressure. So I think that would kind of get under my skin a bit. And I was working with a lot, sports psychologists, had a great support network, and there were times and moments where I had great standout performances, but you could say to sustain that over a long period of time, of those peak performances under pressure, was probably an area that I struggled with, you could say, but I was most challenged. So it's funny now on the backside of my career, that's where I put a lot of energy into that with the athletes that I work with, because no matter what sport it is, or it doesn't have sport, life in general, to be able to crack the code and be able to do your best under pressure, it's a really challenging it's a really hard thing to master, and I don't think you ever really master it.
See, the words you say now, how you see yourself now, as you say, you had all the pressure, you felt, you had the support. Now you transfer everything now for your students.
Yeah.
How this challenge going? How is this journey going? To trust everything, the pressure you had it to make your student doesn't have this pressure, make them comfortable and love what they do as well.
Yeah.
Or they can come to you and cry at the same time and hate everything. How's the journey going?
What I think, again, like I say, I'm like a pretty young coach, and I'm learning that. When I first come into surf coaching, there's like a lot of ego there, and what you tend to learn as a coach is at the start, I try to kind of nearly push my experiences onto the athletes, and you hear it, and it's pretty cliche, but every athlete's kind of different, which is true though. And so what worked for me, like that, that's the challenging part now, is like what really worked for me, and I go, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that, this works, but that doesn't work to the next athlete. There might be small elements that do work. And so, like I think with my coaching is, being really open-minded to the different athletes and the different way they tick. Some are introverted, some are extroverted. Some, like you could probably make the pressure worse by giving them, by making a big deal out of pressure, it makes it worse for them. So you've got to learn how to okay, the pressure's not there. It's just, you're making it up, and that big word pressure. So it's about kind of framing it up in different ways with different athletes. So
it's kind of thing like you make your own pressure sometimes. As you said,
all the time.
Is it too big, too complex, but sometimes it's too simple because you don't mind doing it.
Yeah.
And then you want to help and you can make worse.
Yeah, and and that's the
small words can help way more than a big letter.
Yeah, and I think that's, you hit the nail on the head. All pressure comes usually, from within. That's that word pressure, or I don't know what it is, that tense, lock up feel, whatever it just comes within, and it's how well, you can harness it and deal with it, and trick your mind in those moments, and put yourself in those moments as much as you can leading up to those, those times that really matter. I think that's the key. The more we can kind of, get in that scenario, that situation, and train for it. That's what I've learned has helped quite often with the majority of the athletes I've worked with.
Oh, that's good. Jay, I know you lived for a while in America, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long you been in America, and why you moved to America?
Well, when I was originally I was half in America, half in Australia when I was on tour, because my major sponsor was there. They wanted me over there. And then when I fell off tour, I got the opportunity. They asked if I wanted to be, as a bit transition out of professional surfing, as the global athlete manager. So,
so you work as a...
Yeah, well, I had, I already had a relationship with the surfers, and one of the other guys who was doing that role stood down. He's like, "Do you want to take the role as the athlete manager there?" Which was good because I had the relationship there with like Mick Fanning, Shane Dorian, and some good up and coming kids and stuff. And so I did that, and basically was sort of the business side of the company, the marketing, and was in the big offices, and saw how the back end of business works. Hey, how are you? Yeah, a little bit. See how the kind of the back end of the surf world works, the business end, and it was a good eye opener.
How long did that last?
That was about a year or two, and then to be honest with you, I actually had a bit of, I thought I had a bit of competitive fire still in the belly.
Oh yeah.
And so after a year of living in America, and then I actually met my wife now, Kate, around that time, and I was like, I just wanted to be. Okay, look at this! Look at my backyard. I was like, I want to be back here in my backyard.
Okay, if you guys doesn't know, that's Telebaja Creek. So across, we're here in Burley Heads now, and Burley Heads Points is the other side, straight away in the front there. Beautiful spot.
Yeah. So so home was calling, and then I had to come back here, and I did I actually went back on the QS for another year. And just to feel it out. But
when was that?
That was probably 2012, 11 or 12, I could say. But I was in it, I soon found out I was in it for the long reasons. I was in it just to kind of prolong my lifestyle of freedom. And, the competitive fire wasn't really there. I just wanted to kind of live the dream and pretend
getting older.
But you know what, I was maybe only 25 or 26. So, you look, I still felt, I had it there, but the competitive fire, that edge, it just wasn't there. You need a lot of elements to come together to qualify.
Jay, what do you see the difference as a competitor, as a coach? How the surf used to be and how is the surf today as a competition for this younger generation? How is today?
Look, I feel there's not much change.
Not much change.
I mean, obviously you've got the whole innovation and progressive aspect of the sport now, and which is cool. And, people are doing huge airs. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
From a competition point of view, nothing's changed. You could say it's more professional. Everyone's training now. Like it was, when I was on tour, there was probably 50 or 60% of the guys training pretty hard, and now it seems like it's 100% of people are in the gym doing a lot of, training off-site and really they're taking that holistic, maybe not 100, but, the real holistic approach. Everyone has their own methodologies around it. So I could say there's, more motivation to train and, to stay on there in that regard.
What do you think about training and surf? How important it is? What do you think is complete for the surf?
Well,
in your view?
My view, I think everyone's different. Again, every athlete responds to different types of training. Like, who knows, a surfer might come along, just love being a ballerina and do dancing as their form of training, and that kind of puts them in the right, mindset. I obviously, for obvious reasons, especially we talk about that innovation and progression, and surfing takes a huge toll on your body long term. As we all know, we have these, the typical surf injuries: knees, hips, shoulders, neck, back, whatever. And obviously, a good base training is really important to deal with those injuries long term, and not only that, short term now. Obviously, with the progressive, landing from like really high heights with the aerial maneuvers, that has, that's going to have a huge impact on your body if you're not kind of training for that, or if you're not ready for those unstable landings and whatnot.
Yep.
So, and you need that full range and, deep flexibility, mobility through the hips, and
the prevention and innovation for better apply of the maneuver. No, it's just something they can get at the precision better.
Yeah.
And prevent themselves for injuries.
Yeah.
It's kind of thing. We talk about sports, and then as a conditioning holistic coach, I see what's the view, and people ask me how much training I should put in and to improve my service. Say any kind of sports, the training is important. But the most important thing, if you've been surfing, if you've been practicing sports, how many hours you spend on your sport. Now, are you in the water every day at least 30 minutes practicing, or not overdoing? Definitely have to subdivide what you're doing and have all the training beside to improve in certain things, but never gonna beat the prop sports.
Yeah, exactly. Hours, like for surfing, I said, hours in the water, like if the waves are, firing, or you need to really work on your aerial maneuvers, hours, those, 30, 20 hours in the gym a week gonna equate to, 20 hours in the water a week. Do you know what I mean? So, you hit the nail on the head. And again, like I said, everyone's a little bit different, but I think it's really important to have a really good, solid foundation base.
Oh, yeah.
Good, strong base level of mobility, flexibility, strength in those low, those low kind of ranges, low hip.
What I see these days is change a lot. Like young kids, how you train a lot of young kids, they get it tight. They coming from genetic DNA from the family, but they start to be very tight since younger. It's unbelievable how the body's been changed a lot. Is generation by generation. Some kids are getting like 10 years old, 13 years old. We ask you, can you touch the toes? They cannot touch the toes. You should, as a kid, they should. Now, because they're getting lazy, they don't doing nothing, or just doing the sport, or just run, jump, and that's where they start to get it tight across the muscles, hips, ankles, and that's what the injuries is coming later in life. And it's a big problem. How we spoke another day about certain maneuvers, or you ask them to go a beautiful backhander, but they cannot doing as much because probably the hips are tight, or some mobility is missing around there. It's incredible. I've been writing some articles about that and a couple of ebooks. It's pretty cool, just talking some exercise for that things. But it's interest to the.
And I think that's one thing I'm picking up on, the longer I get into, say, coaching the younger kind of developmental kids. And like you just said about, the parents genetically, they should be flexible or whatever. But I see a lot of kids that actually, I've been trying to get them to get in these low positions. We talk about the word compression in surfing quite a lot, and these low positions. And I'm kind of like, they actually can't get into those low positions. Whether it be their ankle range, a lot of it's their ankle and kind of hip range that they're kind of struggling with. And so I kind of make it, making sure that before my sessions, the kids do a good warm up, and I try to tell them, get them to understand the importance of, that from a young age, getting into that little habit of doing a little, bit of a warm up, and just some correct kind of movement patterns before they surf can really help them. But it's really interesting, you even I work with, some intermediate, same thing, they get a bit older, and it's just there, a lot of it comes back to hip range, ankle range.
All right, let's put in one thing. Give a tip for a grom. So if you ever give a tip for a grom, for junior and intermediate QS guys, if you give you what you should give a tip for these guys, what they should focus if you're grom, what should they do?
All together, or just the grom by itself, or all together as one?
Grom. As a one, if they want to improve their surf. New boards, different types of board, be more in the water, focus on that age on this point. Just one tip.
Time in the water would be number one. I'd say just pure time in the water and getting to understand the ocean, the rhythm and the timing of the ocean, the timing of your body when you're turning. It's a real, no matter, you see people, like when people pick it up at an older age surfing, and they've been surfing for 15 years and they're still not so good. It's such a difficult sport, but at a young age, we're like sponges, so you pick a lot up really early in life, so if you can get in the water as much as you can and get a good feel for it there. That, and
for juniors, what you should give pro juniors
competitive. So from a junior perspective, I would say hang in there if you want to be a professional surfer. If you're good enough, the cream will rise to the top. Okay then. And wait for you to grow into your body. I feel like you see the junior transition into the QS, they're pretty small and they're just starting to fill out, and they're kind of growing into their body. Their muscle is forming properly. And
I call the mature competitor age. Now it's just getting mature inside of the age they have to get on that level of QS.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about doing it and competing, you want to be a pro surfer at that pro junior age, hang it, even if you feel like maybe you're umming and ahhing, you feel like you're kind of good enough but you're unsure, hang in there and, wait until you're a little bit older, like just surf a lot, still train hard and tick all the boxes. And if that's the path you really want to go to, if that's the path you want to go down, like you're good enough, the cream always rises to the top.
QS boys, they are in a QS ready. Like today we had a Leon, we trained with him, but how you could, which words you, one tip for the QS boys.
QS.
Because QS is getting harder these days.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be top 100 and hard to be the top 50, no?
The QS is look for excitement and motivation. Don't get caught in the trap of just, QS is a grind. I don't like to buy into that. Like every year you got to try to, because you're going to the same locations.
Yeah.
You can get caught, you've been competing for a long time.
And also I see a lot of them, they don't get the series yet and ended up party or...
That's it.
And then they don't get the energy to be a competitor anymore, no?
Yeah, that's it. So that's like I said, look for enjoyment and motivation, excitement. That means not just, in competing, that means out of the water as a holistic approach is be happy to meet new people. One sec.
That's good. Yeah.
Meet new people, get excited, go traveling. Don't just go to a venue anymore and just go surf, compete. I like the idea of, like say, smelling the roses, go adventuring and, meet new people, dive into different cultures because, worst case scenario, let's say you don't end up qualifying. Who cares? You've had this amazing experience and it's going to be good for your well-being anyway, and you're going to meet new people and who knows what doors can open up in other facets of the world.
Priceless.
So that's just find excitement, enjoyment, and
What do you think, which words you could give for WSL, CT boys? A tip, what word you could share?
CT would be, I heard Bob Hurley say this, so I'm going to steal his words right now, is have a healthy disrespect for status quo.
Ooh, that's awesome.
I really like that.
Yeah.
And always, that just, and strive to get better. Don't get caught in your same old, reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Don't get caught in your old ways. Just keep
Renovate
getting better at what you're the best at, get better at that, and obviously work on the things that you're struggling with. But have that healthy disrespect for that status quo. I love that. Just get on there and.
It's good you say that. For me, I need to get back on the swim and run with you. So that's one thing. Always my weakness is say, okay, we need to get it there.
Yeah.
Pass. I made it. Okay, well, one less, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It was fun one. It was good. I was looking forward to do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I know we spoke before about beginners and intermediate. People want to surf, want to learn, What do you suggest for that? Could give any tip? Have you been working with people who like learn or intermediate surfers? No competitor side?
Yeah.
Just the fun ones?
I guess too, I think for your learner surfing intermediates, it's a really, I coach, a fair bit in this space also.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest challenge is just the time in the water. It's that simple. It's like, no matter how much coaching you get, no matter what, you just got to have time in the water. It's that simple. Many hours in the water to understand the ocean. I think that's the biggest challenge for me as a coach is, from a young age to, your intermediate until you get to, say, a more professional level is just 80% of people in the water or more probably don't really know. They can't read the ocean. They say sit in the wrong spot. They can't identify what a good peak looks like. They don't know where to take off on the peak. Yep. There's these little variables that come up. So time in the water and
learning to read.
Learning to read and maybe having, if you actually, when they're out in the water, look for where all the best surfers are surfing. Stick next sounds pretty harsh, but stick next to good surfers, and although they'll be taking a few waves off here, watch what they're doing, watch their movements, where they're paddling to on the bank, because the really good surfers understand.
That's awesome.
That's probably my tip, is follow a good surfer around. It means they're going to be in the right spot at the right time.
It is, be a proper.
Yeah, and I always said before too, and I think, when you get to that age, if you want longevity, with your body. It's really important to like. Even now, I'm
talk a lot about
yeah,
longevity. Yeah.
like I mean, even me, I'm 37 or 38, and I'm feeling the effects now of like, you know, it's just I've been a bit slack the last few years, and I'm trying to get back into it. But yeah, if you want some longevity in the sport, you want, I guess, you know, to be happy long term. If you love your surfing, just make sure that you're kind of ticking the boxes and doing, you know, your mobility training, you're doing some yoga, whatever, like just your basic kind of, you know, strength work to keep your joints well maintained, and, you know, you keep your strength in your back. And these are these things that are going to give you. And you can get pissed, but only every now and then. But just do binge drinking like I do.
Yeah. Avoid that.
Yeah. I mean, everything in moderation. You know, that's probably a word too.
It's something like we have to. Today, I try to educate people and then tell them about how it's important to have a routine. No?
Yeah.
So, as a routine every day, what you're doing as a health side to improve your mental health. Now to improve your health, to improve your mobility, the pain in your body, and live the life with a good freedom as a longevity.
Yeah.
And then get the bad habits away, clean up, and get it better habit for as a long life, even you're 30, 40, 50s. And I see all different types of clients and see what's everyone's been missing, or they slipped out, what they shouldn't, to improve as a long life, what they love to do. Like 60, I want to surf to 60, I want to surf to 70, 80. I think I had one interview, I was with Kelly, and Kelly, I think he's put up there, someone's asking him, how long do you want to surf, Kelly? He said, I want to surf into my 80s. And then we see Kelly, he's very focused on his routine, and pushing him through to 80. If he's now, how old is he now? 49, 48?
10 years older than well, yeah, but I think he's 48, yeah.
Still competing. And I had someone asking me, how long do you think Kelly will compete? I say, well, if he's qualified next year, he probably competed. I think each year, if he'll be top 15 or top 10, he will compete into the time, or he's gonna break his body again, and they say, nah, enough. It takes so longer to recover, and I understand why I'm getting older. I need you there long term to recover.
Yeah, exactly.
Jay, right now, what do you see your future as a coaching and developing all these kids? Are you very excited for your new journey?
Nah, I'm over it. Nah, man. I mean, like I said, I'm just beginning my journey as a coach. I'm learning so much, and it's a long. You know, if you look at just surfing, coaching in surfing is so new. It's fresh. We know what we're on about. It's like blind leading the blind, I'd say. But it's like we're learning, you know, we're learning from other coaching methodologies in other sports that have been around for a lot longer. And I don't know, that word coach is super coach. I think it's a bit of cliche, whole super coach shit. It's just like you're just helping, you know what I mean? You're just trying to guide them on a little bit of a journey. It's not rocket science, you know. If they're good enough and they train hard, like they're going to get results. It's not like we're these, you know, like I'm certainly not this super coach. I'm just, you know, just trying to help them out in their journey. So I'm just excited. Like I said before, I struggle with those high pressure situations as an athlete a little bit, and
do you get emotional with them as well?
Yeah, I do, and I get really emotional. I get and that's another thing. Is like I'm learning it. I go to contests and why they do this? But it's just I'm learning. It's like I get so emotionally invested, and that's my style of coaching too. Like you know, you got a relationship style coach, based coach, and there's different ways, but it's hard not to. You know, you're putting a lot of time and energy into these athletes. You know, and you just want to see the best and them perform at their best, and and it just it's hard not to get emotionally invested, especially in, you know, the heat of battle. And
all right, let's get a situation there. Have you had before 2 of your surfers in the same heat?
Yep.
How did you go with that? How did you coach both?
Yeah, you have the.
Have you had it give you some words, or just let them?
Well, it's more about like when you're talking on a high performance level. You're talking on a high performance level. It's you don't have to tell the guys where to sit. You don't have to. They don't have to work at their game plan so much. Like, it's about getting them into the right emotional state before they compete.
Just beat each other and see how they work.
Just go.
Each one
Just go buy some soap and wax your competitors. No, it's just like, it's about getting them in the right mental state. Before it. Like, okay. I'm not a big fan on, my style of coaching isn't telling athletes what to do either. Just let them talk, and if there's certain things that pop up, that, we agree on or whatever, like things that stand out that align with the way I'd be framing up a heat or not, they do the talking, they find their own answers. Like, I'm there for guidance. I'm not there to kind of tell them what to do. So, yeah, it's a challenging one though. It happens.
Come with the question because I saw some situations before, and it was funny to watch, and then I felt one of them was a little bit upset because I think he felt maybe the other coach gave more to the others, and then it was funny situation, a bit sad situation in both parts. But it was good. I watched a couple of times.
I think in those
different times, so that was a challenge.
Yeah.
To see, and then ends up funny.
I think too, as a coach, I think it's really important if you're going to have those scenarios go down. Yeah. You speak to the athletes before and go, look, if this scenario arises where you're in the same heat, you have that chat about, I'm going to chat to both you guys, or you ask them what they want to do in those scenarios. It's not about, you know what I mean? It's like you talk, you don't show up in game day and they both freak out. It's all like set in stone what you're going to do with each other. Yeah. Kind of spend a bit of time with them, and yeah.
Jay, one thing, people asking, and then I see a lot of people talking as well, and I wrote a little ebook as well about what you can correct, what you think about pop-ups, what you can give a tip about pop-up. We see always people struggle sometimes pop-up, and then all these restrictions, and what do you think?
I don't know, man.
Do you correct your kids when they're doing some wrong pop-ups, or can you see a different or really bad pop-up?
This is such a weird one.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people do bad pop-ups. And
good.
I see a lot of videos on how to learn how to do. I see a lot of videos now online. I have, surf strength training, how you do a pop up, and there's just different variations. And I don't. It's a hard. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't really know the answer. What I did see.
No answer, but here's your opinion as a coach, and then
what I saw the other day.
20 years of experience, okay?
Obviously, again, it's because I'm new to the whole, but because I always try to drill kids, I drill kids on pop-ups and like on being efficient, getting to their feet. And I was like, why can't they pop up good?
I had a key for you, but
yeah. And then now more I'm looking into it, it seems to come back from strength and flexibility, and probably a bit of bad technique when they first learn. But yeah, it seems like obviously your flexibility, you through your thoracic, combination of through your thoracic, through your hips, ankles, and all. What I saw was a good thing the other day was, it was random that I actually asked this question, but we always talk about jumping to your feet in one big foul, like big swoop, if that makes sense, just jumping to your feet and then being solid on your feet, which I've actually taught a lot over the years. But I saw an analogy the other day of somebody like thinking of it sliding to their feet instead of like doing a jump forward. It's like a slide through, and like a more of a slower fluent kind of pop up, which it kind of resonated for me. I don't know the answer. I just don't. Like I honestly.
I have one key. I have one present for you. I'll share with you later. it's come up, and then it'll be good to see your thoughts about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean,
it's coming up. I built up a nice ebook just about in parts of my science behind how the body works.
Yeah.
And talk about the strength, mobility, and synchronize as a movement and the power what it can do. I share this one with you, Bill. Probably I want to use you for kids as well, and even yourself, or if you can do into that. Cool. Jay, the best right hand for you.
Well, mate, we live around the corner from it.
Hey,
we're 100 metres away, mate.
I knew you're gonna say that.
I love Burley. That's where my heart and soul is. It's like
big barrows.
It just comes with about 10,000 people these days. So,
but
I love Burley. I really love that Ponape P-Pass. That wave's phenomenal. I had some amazing.
I've never been there. Heard it.
It's an amazing location when it gets big, and
I saw the little record. I think.
Mm.
I think it's a P-Pass. I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
Griffin, Seth, and Ethan. I think he's there. They didn't tell the name, but I think it's a P-Pass.
I don't know. It's a pretty special place to my heart.
Like 2-3 barrels in the same
Even
house.
up the road, everyone says TOS. TOS, it's Stratty, the other side. It's not a fucking secret.
No.
It's fucking 3,000 people over there. Say Stratty, bloody hell. It's the most crowded place on the bloody coast. So, but that's amazing too. We just get sick little peaks, bloody.
The best left.
I would have to say the most perfect left would have to be Chopu. I'd just say it is the most beautiful wave until it gets over 6 to 8 foot, and then it's the scariest wave, but it is the most shortest perfect barreling kind of left that I've come across. And then you got obviously waves like VG, which is phenomenal, more of like a longer kind of wave. But I'd say for me the best left I've surfed is Chopu.
Yeah, everyone says perfect barrel.
Yeah, and
Perfect,
Pipe's
and
amazing, but Pipe's more unpredictable and scary. But yeah, I like Chopes, even though he died there.
Other thing, what tips you can give for people when they're looking to buy a board, surfboard?
Depends what level.
What level? Okay, let's talk a quick one. Junior,
don't get caught up in what all the hype or the best surfers. I mean, not all the best surfers, just all the hypes around. Get a good understanding before you go out and buy. Understand what different designs do. I feel like all the boards these days are copied anyway off one another, off the machines. And if you've got a decent enough shaper, you're going to stumble across a good board eventually. You know, the shapers copy from each other. There are obviously more premier shapers that you're probably going to have a better strike rate with eventually, but I mean, on a high performance level, work with your shaper, and you're going to stumble across a good board. Don't go jumping from to and fro, all different shapes. You get a bit lost. Intermediate learners to intermediates.
learn intermediates. I think
learn
that's
intermediate.
a good question.
My thing with boards with them, don't go too short, too thin, too early. Start long. It's that simple. Get the volume under you. Do a bit of research on your weight versus volume and width and whatnot. Speak to your local shaper about that. I might get in trouble saying this. Don't always trust your people that work in your surf stores. I'd rather speak to a shaper one-on-one versus that if you've got access to that. Or like a really good surfer in that stage too, in that space as well. Someone who actually really a credible source that has a good understanding on boards. Don't just go to any Joe Blow that just wants to get his commission out of selling a board to you.
Cool. Nice. Thanks, Jay.
All right. Well, good.